very angry. You are hearing people continuously with signs, etc. They are angry. They have milk with them. They have on gas.
Do you have a job?
Shame, I'm getting paid right now. Tear gas multiple times.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd ask to strike the last words.
General lady is recognized.
Thank you so much. It is so hard to sit here sometimes. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you? A child.
Those crocodile tears?
The IGs have failed. But anyway.
You all have failed.
This is political theater.
No.
You all continue to fail. We've done nothing. You've had the gavel, Mr. Comer.
For the past week, protesters have erupted after a federal ICE agent fatally shot a 37-year-old woman in Minneapolis. Lawmakers and leaders are still trying to explain it. And people are questioning what they're being
Looks
told.
like they're going to be walking this person out of the way. We're going to get out of their way.
If you do violently resist them, if you do felonious assaults with 2-ton weapons, expect to be shot.
Welcome back to the Jay Bravado Show. And do we have a show for you today? Do we? Of course we do. It's been a wild couple of days with chaos in the streets, chaos in the rhetoric, crocodile tears, they're auditioning, and somehow Scott Jennings still can bring common sense and calm to a chaotic situation. We're going to start off with Scott Jennings, then we're going to move over to Jasmine Crockett and find out what the crocodile tears are actually about, and then we're going to find out what's actually going on in the streets on the Jay Bravado Show. Roll it.
I should note, McCarthy also wrote that he thinks that what happened was probably within the scope of the law, but he didn't like what Kristi Noem went out and said there. Did she need to say that?
Probably not. But that doesn't mean she shouldn't go out and defend the ICE agent. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't expect DHS to defend their agents who are routinely under attack around the country. We've seen hundreds of car incidents and ICE operations around the country. The correct question to be asking, I think, today is, why was this incident occurring in the first place? Why is there a convoy of vehicles, according to several witnesses, attempting to impede a perfectly legitimate federal law enforcement situation? So I think arguing about the rhetoric, perfectly fine. To me, I want to get to the root cause of why there is a group of people in this country who believe it is their responsibility to drive convoys of vehicles into perfectly legitimate federal law enforcement situations. I think some of this goes back to, frankly, John, Democratic rhetoric, because that's what they've been instructed to do by the Democrats who are demonizing these ICE agents.
You know, Scott Jennings asked a really valid question. So what makes these people go out into the streets and feel emboldened enough to impede on officers while they're actually doing their job? Well, I'll tell you, there are people behind them, amping them up, called news networks like CNN and MSNBC. Sometimes even lawmakers have the gumption to embolden their party. They use names like Gestapo and Nazi. That type of chaotic rhetoric gives people that has no idea of the actual definition of Gestapo or the actual definition of Nazi. They don't really know what that means, but if they're amped up enough and they're riled up enough by a network, someone that's bigger than them, then they're going to go out into the streets and do what they feel is necessary. That's what's going on. Now, I have Sheriff Judd, and he explains exactly what happens to people who impede on officers when they're just trying to do their jobs. Roll it.
This is your Florida Minute. The conversation from the Minneapolis shooting continues this morning, this time in Polk County, where Sheriff Grady Judd is weighing in after an ICE agent shot and killed a driver during a confrontation in Minneapolis. Judd criticizing the city's mayor for commenting before the investigation is complete. Judd says video shows the driver using her vehicle as a deadly weapon, calling the shooting justified self-defense, while Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey labeled ICE's actions as reckless and chaotic.
So what did the occupant expect? They should have expected to be shot when you commit a deadly assault on a law enforcement officer. Cooperate with the law enforcement officers. Don't resist them. Don't violently resist them. If you do violently resist them, if you do felonious assaults with 2-ton weapons, expect to be shot.
Yep, that's the problem. Okay, so when you have people in the streets that are steadfast and committed to distracting and destroying the future of their city, then there's nothing you can really do with that person but lock them up or remove them from the streets.
The death of Renee Good has sparked national backlash with sharply divided reactions from elected officials on whether that shooting was lawful.
There are people out here protecting rioters, looters, fraudsters, like in Minneapolis. When I think about a hypocritical person, one person comes to mind that's in the Congress, and I think of this one person. And this one person is right now sitting on the stand auditioning to be elected. Her name is Jasmine Crockett, and she brought crocodile tears.
The gentlelady from Texas is recognized to strike the last word.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd ask to strike the last words.
Gentlelady's recognized.
Thank you so much. It is.
Okay, so this is good enough for Broadway. Lights, camera, action.
It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you?
I do remember when Charlie was assassinated in front of his wife and his kids. I do remember that, and I don't remember you having any empathy at all.
Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child. Child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay.
You cannot weaponize empathy when you refuse to show it.
I am asking if there is anyone that will stand for the very people that elected us and sent us to Congress. You tell us things like, well, the immigrants are bad. And so we got to get all these bills because the immigrants are the ones that are causing the harm. They're bringing the crime. The mayor of Minneapolis told y'all to get the fuck out. Yet y'all are the ones, it is this administration that is bringing crime to their streets. That's what's happening.
It's the third incident where somebody has dropped an F-bomb in this committee, including the video.
I'm sorry.
Including the video that we had to watch earlier.
Are your princess ears okay?
Is it profanity?
Well, the
princess ears
House of Representatives.
The committee.
You are about the fact that a woman.
Are you
is
soft?
House of Representatives.
The gentlelady.
Are we offending your princess ears? Are they that soft?
All members will.
Well, maybe some of the kids out there.
Mr. Chairman, it is the gentlelady's
You're killing
time.
them.
Kids.
It is the gentlelady's time. Let's let her have her time.
It is the gentlelady's time. Would you stop the clock for a moment? Okay, and I'll restore that. The chair will remind all members that the person controlling the time is not to be unreasonably interrupted. We would further admonish that whenever possible to express the full meaning of something, it be done so without an expletive that may be offensive to people here in the audience or those who watch this on television.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Long story short, we are sitting in judiciary and no one on that side of the aisle seems to care that this particular person, whose name we don't know at this point, became the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't know how you square that. And then we're sitting here literally in markup for a bail funds bill. When I first ran for office, it was in the midst of yet another lynching by law enforcement in Minneapolis. At that time, it was George Floyd.
And this is how they always do it. They take one tragedy and emotionally splice it with George Floyd. George Floyd had a specific case, a specific verdict, a specific outcome. You don't get to recycle that trauma every time you need emotional fuel. Emotions is not evidence. Roll it.
I remember working as a pro bono criminal defense attorney to help protesters that were being arrested. There were more than 600 protesters that were arrested in Dallas. There were churches that came together to make sure that there were bail funds. There were nonprofit organizations. And to explain how it works for bail, since we're in judiciary and we're writing the laws, and some people may not understand this, but those bail funds, those nonprofit organizations are not the ones that determine whether or not somebody gets bail. What they do is they help out poor people, which I know y'all are not interested in either, but they help out people that aren't rich and famous and have limitless amounts of money, like all of the Epstein defendants who somehow y'all can't find, even though y'all went and got Maduro.
See, this is why I don't date outside the intelligent pool.
It helps out those people to be able to get out of jail. Many of those people that if they spend just a couple of days in jail will then be thrust into straight up poverty because they will lose everything. Why it is that you want to criminalize people such as churches that are trying to help the poor because they understand what the Bible says, and they don't just say that they understand it or say that they love Jesus, but they decide that they actually put it into works because faith without works is dead.
Okay, so she just now said faith without works is dead. That comes out of James 2:17. But it doesn't just stop there. Also in Matthew 7:16, it says, you will know them by their fruits, not their words, not their slogans, not their fake tears, but their fruits. Quoting scripture doesn't make you righteous. Living it does.
That is wrong too. And I'm here to tell you that there's going to be a lot of nonprofit organizations that are going to step up in this moment because there are going to be protests around this entire country because of the state-sanctioned execution that we all saw unfold, unless there is some kind of justice that takes place and we get the name of that officer and that officer is prosecuted.
Okay, so translation. Jasmine Crockett is the oversight committee. She wants the funds to be accumulated and facilitated for more chaos. They say that these protests and these protesters are not funded. But if they get locked up and jailed, there are nonprofit organizations that will pay for their bail so they can be back out the next day doing the same thing. This is criminal. Jasmine Crockett is not for the American people. Really, Jasmine Crockett is on the team of disruption. In Minneapolis, there are protesters in the streets challenging journalists like Laura Ingraham. And actually, one said the quiet part out loud. If you didn't think they were getting paid, think again. Roll it.
And the protesters were there, and things there, well, they got a little more interesting.
Disgrace to the human race.
Why are you wearing a mask?
If Laura Ingraham is out there doing her due diligence and it's justified, she's doing her job, and you are out there creating havoc, who's the real disgrace to the human race?
Mask. Why are you wearing a mask?
Because my nose is cold. Why do you care if I'm wearing a mask?
I'm just curious. It's a question.
Agitator!
This is the crowd, and they apparently are policing their borders. So they're policing their borders here, which is fascinating.
Shame! Shame!
Oh, really? So boring.
Shame! Shame!
Do you have a job? Do you have a job?
Shame! Shame! I'm getting paid right now.
You want to know the difference between a conservative and a liberal? Here's the difference. One side makes excuses. The other side exposes it. America can see the difference. Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so we can continue to bring you the information that they don't want you to know on the Jay Rovato Show.